Character of the week. So today's character week is rock music, but not just any rock music. We're talking about black rock music. Say what? Yeah, you're right. All right, so it's one and the same. We're talking about rock music. Okay, that last part was controversial, but hear me out. Hear me out before that comment section gets a little. What I mean is, we all know that rock music has a lot of variation. I'm referring to its history, its roots. The roots in blues, gospel, rhythm and blues. All right, that's better. That last one, that was the king of rock and roll. Wanna know how he got that title? You see, they called Elvis rock and roll, even though he was doing the same thing that Chubby Checker had done, and they called Chubby Checker rhythm and blues. Similar to Justin Timberlake and Usher. Justin Timberlake being pop, Usher is soul. The thing is that the record executives and the record higher-ups in the record companies set the precedent as far as how music is going. So all your homies that used to make fun of you for listening to white music, it was really black music this whole time. We used to hide the fact that we listened to that music, not knowing Manifest Destiny rock, because gatekeepers. As you see, this trend continues throughout all of music history. In the 80s, you had rock bands in the UK scene that were heavily influenced by reggae, bands like Men at Work, even more so with The Police. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so it wasn't all bad. I mean, we had ska music, or ska is a mixture of punk rock and reggae. Ska music came from Jamaica that the UK adopted, especially during that time period when the working class whites and the black and the brown were protesting pretty much against the same person or the same enemy, the establishment. That's actually where the checkerboard flag came from in ska music. It's the black and the white working together. It's almost like racism and classism are rooted in the same thing, come from the same cloth. Speaking of punk music though, punk music actually originated from black people too. You know? It's a band called Death. Death was a band of 3 blood brothers from Detroit who decided to play like something a little different than what was going on at the time, which was the Motown sound. They were playing rock music, but they were playing rock music fast and hard. There's gotta be a better way of saying that. They weren't even considered punk because punk wasn't even invented by then. And they were just playing rock music just crazy. Unbeknownst to them, it's like the early workings of punk music, way before the Ramones. So Death ended up actually just never being heard of for years. They made a genre that wasn't even existing. Like, that's like the most punk thing ever. And speaking of punk things, you got like bands that were establishing also in the early days of punk in the 80s, like Bad Brains, shout out to DC, Pure Hell, X-Ray Specs, Fishbone. These bands are kind of like the early day cornerstones of what punk rock was. Especially in the 80s, like in the New York scene, punk rock and hip hop were almost like intertwined in their history, especially when it comes to like the fashion and some of the underground clubs they had to play in. I'm not even going to list like all the artists right now, but it's just undeniable the influence and the result of black people being in rock music right now. Hendrix to Lenny Kravitz to Block Party to Living Colour to Bad Brains. I'm not going to mention nu metal because we want no parts of that, but unfortunately that's also a result of us influencing rock music. I just find it so funny considering, like I said, the history of rock music and black people, the racism in the rock community. It's just crazy thinking like you're trying to stop me or telling me I should stick to another genre even though we created this other genre. Like, that makes no sense to me.
White people stole black people's shit and taught black people to gatekeep it from other black people. What is it about black people and rock music that's so integral and central? Where's it come from?
I'll tell you what it is. Being black is punk as fuck. Back to you guys. Like, share, subscribe.